Porpoising has been the story of the season so far. You can't have missed Lewis Hamilton saying his Mercedes was undriveable, or George Russell saying that he's struggling physically with the effects it has on his body. But while Mercedes have been complaining about porpoising, Ferrari have been winning races with it. So is porpoising really slowing down F1 cars that much? We know porpoising is bad. The drivers tell us, the teams tell us, the media tell us. Or do they? Lando Norris actually said the opposite earlier in the season. We don't have much porpoising, but porpoising is not necessarily a bad thing. For some cars, they're gaining performance from the thing that causes the porpoising. Okay, well, he didn't quite say it was a good thing, but he did say that what is causing it is a good thing. We all know by now that porpoising is caused by downforce. The floor gets too close to the road, the air stalls, etc, etc. We aren't here today to explain it again. We're sure every F1 fan knows exactly what is going on at this point. The downforce that is causing porpoising is vital to an F1 car's performance though. This is going to get a bit techie, but we'll do our best to explain because it is important to the question. To make a car of any sort go fast, it needs power. The more power it has, the faster it goes. The Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300 Plus produces more brake horsepower than any other production car in the world. 1,578 to be precise. That's about 500 more than an F1 car, by the way. It goes from 0 to 100 km an hour in 2 and a bit seconds. Its top speed is electronically limited to 420 km per hour. To give that some perspective, Sergio Perez set the fastest top speed in Miami at 334.6 km per hour. The Bugatti Chiron is powered by an 8-litre quad-turbocharged W16 engine. Unfortunately for F1 teams, they can't just put a Bugatti engine in their cars. They have to survive with their measly 1.6-litre V6. Admittedly, they're the most technologically advanced 1.6-litre V6 in the world, but still, it would be an interesting experiment, wouldn't it? Even if you could put a 1,578 brake horsepower engine in an F1 car, you can't just keep giving a car more power and expect it to keep getting faster. This is where downforce comes in. There is a limit to how much power a car can actually use. If you try to put too much power through a car's tires, the wheels will just spin. You can try this at home actually to see exactly what we're talking about. Please don't try it. I'm not telling you to do this, I'm just saying you could. The example is as such. I'm going for a drive in my brand new Bugatti Chiron. This is an example, so I'm rich enough to own a Bugatti Chiron. For you, maybe it's your Fiat Punto. You stop at some lights, and when they go green, you gently press on the accelerator of your Punto and pull away. That's great. You're applying a small amount of power through the wheels and your car is able to apply that power to the road through the tires, making you move. I have a brand new Bugatti though, and I want to see how fast it will go. So I put my foot flat to the floor straight away, thinking that I can apply all 1,578 brake horsepower to the tires and onto the road and just disappear into the distance. What actually happens is my wheels spin on the spot a lot. There's a huge cloud of smoke behind me, and I end up on an Instagram car meme page with a caption like, "Idiot destroys his brand new Bugatti, laughing emoji, crying emoji, laughing emoji." Anyway, enough of my fantasies and more of the science. The tires started spinning because of the rotational force that the wheels create. I don't have enough downward force being applied through the tires and onto the road to be able to make use of that rotational force. That lack of downward force meant that the tires just slipped and spun without ever really moving the car forward. To be able to apply all that power to the ground and move the car forward, you have to increase the downward force that is applied through the wheels into the ground. Increasing weight can do this, but weight makes handling worse and requires more power to move. So we need some virtual weight. This is what downforce is, and we can get it from airflow around the car. The 2022 regulations allowed teams to use ground effect floors to create some of their downforce. These floors create a lot of downforce, which is great because it means our 0.6-litre V6 engine can transfer loads of power to the road, making it go really fast. The more downward force that is being put through the tyres onto the road, the faster an F1 car can travel through a corner as well. Cornering speed is limited by the amount of downforce you have in the same way that the amount of power a car can be put through the wheels on the road is limited. If the sideways forces created by cornering are too great, our car will spin, just like the wheels on my Bugatti did. So you see, the thing that causes the porpoising, the downforce, is actually vital to an F1 car. The cars need that downforce to go fast. This is where we can start asking if the porpoising is actually slowing the cars down or not. When an F1 car porpoises, there are two distinct movements. the down, which happens when the downforce increases and the car sinks lower to the road, and the up, when the downforce decreases rapidly and the car bounces up away from the track. The down movement happens because as the car goes faster, it creates more downforce. That down movement doesn't slow the car down at all. In fact, you'll hear engineers and team principals talking about why they want to run the car lower to the ground. If they were allowed, they would probably work out a way to run the cars so that you couldn't even see the gap between them and the ground. It's the up part of the porpoising that's bad. That upward motion means that the downward force going through the tires is significantly less than normal. As you know now, less downward force means you're able to apply less power through the road and you aren't able to corner as fast. Luckily for our F1 teams this season though, the porpoising only occurs when they are already going really fast, and doesn't seem to be limiting the amount of power they can apply to the road on the straights. Everyone still has their foot flat to the floor on the straights, and there isn't any wheel spin in sight. So in a straight line, the F1 car's lap times aren't actually being affected by porpoising. Ferrari is the perfect example of this. Their car locked out the front row of the grid in Miami because they set the 2 fastest lap times around the track. So despite the porpoising, they were the fastest car on the track. Ferrari only porpoise on the straight though, so their lap times aren't affected. This means that all that downforce Ferrari are creating that helps them go fast is great. They can go around corners quicker than anyone else. Everyone is saying how fast they are through the slower parts of the track, because their car is able to go around tight corners so much quicker than anyone else. So for Ferrari, the porpoising isn't actually bad. If they reduced the amount of downforce they were creating to try and stop porpoising, the car would probably be slower. The only team that's really having a problem is Mercedes, but their porpoising is a bit of a different beast. For reasons we and Mercedes don't understand, their car porpoises at a much slower speed than Ferrari's does. What this means is that while Ferrari only start to porpoise on the high-speed straights, Mercedes are actually porpoising during the corners. Back to Miami, Lewis Hamilton was the 7th fastest in a straight line on the track during the race, so the porpoising isn't slowing him down in a straight line. It is slowing him down in the corners though. Like I said, the upward motion of porpoising means that the downward force going through the tires is significantly less than normal. Having less downward force while you're going through a corner means you need to take the corner at a slower speed to stop your tires losing grip and slipping. Obviously, going round a corner fast is good for your lap times, but crashing is not, so he has to find a balance. As the Mercedes cars go through the upward motion of porpoising, the downward force being applied through the tires and into the road decreases significantly, making it much more likely that Lewis or George will spin. What they have to do then is reduce their speed through the corners so that the tires do not slide and they do not cause a spin. This is where the porpoising becomes bad for Mercedes. They're having to reduce their speed to stop their cars from spinning in the high-speed corners. If they were only porpoising on the straights, they'd be absolutely fine. It's only when they get into the corners that it's bad. Ferrari could carry on porpoising for the rest of the season and continue winning races. In fact, it's pretty likely they will continue to suffer from the effect for the rest of the season because the downforce that's creating the effect is good for their lap times. Obviously, there are some caveats to this. If the effect is damaging your car in some way, that's going to be bad. And if your drivers have to be hospitalized because of what it's doing to their bodies, they're going to struggle to win races. But eliminating porpoising will not make your car faster. And that is why porpoising might not actually be so bad after all. If you enjoyed this video, then why not check out this video about how Red Bull are exploiting Ferrari's speed in the low speed sections.